I believe I've made a significant find in the Kandarian ruins, a volume of ancient Sumerian burial practices and funerary incantations. It's entitled Natarum Demontum, roughly translated, How to Survive. The podcast is bound in human flesh and inked in human blood. It deals with demons and demon resurrection and those forces which roam the forests and dark bowers of man's domain. The first few episodes warn that the enduring creatures may lie dormant, but are never truly dead. They may be recalled to active life through the incantations present in this podcast. It is through the recitation of these passages that the demons are given license to possess the living. I know that my podcast co-host has become host to a Kandarian demon. I fear that the only way to stop those possessed by the spirits of the podcast is through the act of bodily dismemberment.
Hello and welcome to episode 133 of the How to Survive podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me in our remote, isolated cabin in the deep, dark woods, with only one bridge leading to where we are, and that bridge was looking mighty rickety, it's Joe Sherville.
All right.
How are you?
Yeah, I can't complain. It's been a good week. Had a great time watching a very good film. That film was Lady Bird.
Yeah. All well? Looking forward to the podcast?
Yeah. You seem to be very worried about me.
No,
You've asked me twice if I'm okay.
Checking. Just checking that you're not possessed.
Is that how you do it?
Yes.
Just ask people repeatedly if they're okay?
Yeah. This is the nice way of doing it.
Yeah.
The film this week is, of course, The Evil Dead.
Yes.
It's the 1981 Sam Raimi classic, suggested to us. It needed suggesting. We'd never heard of it by our listener, Corey Wood.
Yes.
As part of our listener recommendations.
Thanks, Corey.
Yes, thank you very much. It's long overdue. A lot of people would say that we got to this film. But here we are. Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. If you haven't seen Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead, then spoilers ahead.
Yes.
Because we like to talk about the film in its entirety. You've had 37 years to watch The Evil Dead.
Wow.
So if you were saving it until it was 38 years young, then please duck out now because we're about to spoil it rotten.
You say that though, but I hadn't seen it.
No, it's true.
Had
Well,
you?
neither had I. No.
It's weird, isn't it? Because it is such a bastion of horror.
Yeah.
And we host a horror movie
watched
podcast.
132 other horror movies that weren't The Evil Dead. But this week, finally, it's time. Spoilers after this short message.
I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come calling for me.
No, it was the woods themselves. They're alive, Ashley.
5 students, Ash, Linda, Cheryl, Scotty, and Shelley, venture to an isolated cabin for their spring break.
Woohoo!
That's a sound effect from The Evil Dead.
Is it?
No, it's you. It's you making a sound. How could you get confused? How could you forget that you did a sound?
I thought you meant you were going to drop a sound in.
No. The single road to the cabin culminates in a rickety bridge, which nearly collapses as they cross, but they arrive to find the cabin in somewhat of a ruinous state. That night, Cheryl hears a demonic voice outside her window say, "Join us," before an unknown force compels her to draw a strange picture of a book with a demonic face. During dinner, the trapdoor suddenly flies open, and Scotty ventures down into the basement, finding a book called The Naturum de Monto. Sounds like a lovely pasta dish, if you ask me. And a tape recorder belonging to an archaeologist. On the recording, the archaeologist recites some mysterious incantations, awakening some kind of entity outside the cabin. Later, Cheryl ventures outside the cabin, where she is attacked and raped by a demonically possessed tree. Later, Cheryl ventures outside the cabin where she is attacked and assaulted by demonically possessed trees, barely escaping with her life. She begs Ash to take her back into town, but as they leave, they find the bridge is now destroyed. Ash listens to more of the tape and discovers that the only way to kill the entity is to dismember it when it possesses a host. Cheryl succumbs to the entity and attacks the group, stabbing Linda in the ankle with a pencil before they manage to force her into the cellar. An increasingly obviously possessed Cheryl taunts the group from the cellar and laughs as Shelley becomes the next teenager to succumb to the demon. In a scuffle, Scotty manages to chop her body up with an axe. Quite the scuffle.
A scuffle is one way to describe it.
He buries her body outside and leaves for town. Ash discovers Linda has already begun to turn, and shortly thereafter, Scotty returns mortally wounded. Linda and Cheryl both pretend to be their normal selves before attacking Ash. He manages to overcome Linda and stab her with a dagger. Unable to dismember her with a chainsaw, he instead buries her in the woods, but she resurrects and tries again to kill him, continuing even after he decapitates her with a shovel. Back in the cabin, Cheryl has escaped the basement, but Ash manages to wound her with a shotgun. Scotty now revives as a demon, and the trio of possessed teens attack Ash. He manages to grab the book and throw it into the fireplace and watches in horror as his possessed friends rapidly decompose, spraying blood all over him. Ash stumbles outside and stares at the rising sun, unaware that a surviving entity rushes up behind him, ready to attack.
Yeah, twist ending worthy of something like Friday the 13th.
It's a very good ending. I think it's a great ending. The final shot is maybe the best shot in the film.
Yeah, it's I don't know, mate. I don't know about that. A lot of good shots.
Do you want a bit of cultural context?
Please.
It was made for between $350,000 and $400,000.
Okay.
The cast and crew all lived in the cabin during production, and it was as dilapidated as it appears on screen.
That's good.
At one stage, they had to burn furniture to keep warm.
Good.
And Bruce Campbell, who plays Ash, described the shoot as a 12-week mirthless exercise in agony. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell were childhood friends as well, by the way. Did you know the co-editor of the film is a very famous man?
Go on.
Joel Coen.
Really?
Yes, of the Coen brothers. Evil Dead was funded through... basically, Joel Coen worked as an assistant editor at the editing house where The Evil Dead was cut.
Right.
And it's an interesting note because Sam Raimi funded Evil Dead partially from getting investors off the back of a short film that he made as a sort of calling card or trailer for what he wanted to do with Evil Dead.
Okay.
And the Coen brothers went on to do something very similar for Blood Simple.
Yes.
So, I think Sam Raimi helped them make Blood Simple.
Okay.
And,
are they friends?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. They certainly were at the time. I don't know if they've fallen out since. But yeah, no, they worked quite closely in the early stages of their career, which is quite interesting.
It is, and they're both very influential filmmakers.
Yeah. So it was your first time seeing The Evil Dead.
Yes.
What did you think?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a very welcome film.
A very welcome film.
Yeah. We do a lot of shit on this podcast.
Yeah.
I think it takes a little while to get started, find its footing. But as soon as the special effects kick in, then it really gets going in a big way. The Cheryl possession, there's a bum note which we'll discuss later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But for the most part, is the most interesting thing. her like degradation into becoming a demon,
Right.
and the special effects that go into that, and her eventual like final showdown is the most interesting part of the film.
Yeah.
And it's fucking amazing. Like in terms of special effects, it is honestly astonishing.
Yeah.
I think so. And
Yeah,
considering it was done on the budget you described,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah. It's very creative, the use of special effects.
Exactly, yeah. And the camera work, by the way, is absolutely incredible as well. So the two bits that stand out for me are the part where Ash is the sole survivor and he's running around the cabin at the end. He's like trying to find shells for the shotgun.
Yeah.
And he's just locking doors and things like that. And the camera just follows him everywhere. But it does it in like a really clever way. So there's a part where he's like running, he's like sprinting, and obviously the camera operator's got a sprint to keep up with him, and it gives you the sense of the pace of the film. It keeps you running with him.
Sure.
But then there's another tracking shot where it goes like up away from him and over the rafters to give like a sense that he's claustrophobic and the walls are closing in kind of thing.
Sure.
And they put a weird sound effect as it goes over the rafters as well, like it's really cool. But it brings the cabin to life in a way which makes it that much more intense.
Yeah, they shoot like every angle.
Exactly, yeah. It's incredibly impactful and it's incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
The
Famously, I don't know if you know, the sort of ground level shots rushing through the woodland.
Yes.
Those were achieved, I think, by two people basically like screwing the camera onto a plank of wood and then getting two people to run like with ropes, dragging the plank of wood through the forest.
Yeah.
And then I think reversing the footage so it looks like it's running forward.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah, it's very clever. And then the final shot, which as I said, is my favorite shot of the whole film, was achieved by putting the camera on a bike and riding the bike down the hill through the cabin and out of the door, which is great.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to see the behind the scenes of that.
Yeah, because like last week we were talking about Cube, and that was done on a very low budget.
Yeah,
and that's the best thing about it because it's an intelligent use of that budget. This is like even more so because it pushes the boundaries of filmmaking in that way. It's like they're taking risks in putting a with an expensive camera on a bike and riding it through a house.
Well, it's in both cases, this and Cube last week. The low budget is like what inspires the creativity of the film almost.
Exactly. Yes. You couldn't make a film this compelling on a like £100 million budget.
No,
it would be ridiculous.
You're saying no film with a 100 that's as compelling as the
Evil Dead. Exactly. The other shot that I really really liked is where Ash blocks the door. Right. So I think Shelley's outside, and she's like trying to bang the front door down, and he grabs like a little chest of drawers from under the window and puts it in front of the door to keep her out. And he's got his back to the door, like, blocking it. And I was absolutely convinced, because the shot stays on for ages. I was convinced that she was going to break through the window. And then from the like left-hand bottom of the frame, Scotty sits up as the zombie. And like, it's hilarious. Like, and I think that's the point of the film. It's like, it's not meant to be a horror. It's meant to be a comedy because everything is just really funny like that. Like,
it's like the way in which it's got like the visual language of a comedy.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, but it works in a horror because, as we often say, when tension builds up, you can either make people jump or you can make them laugh.
Yeah, I mean the film has a lot of very over the top gore as well, which I always think that when it's done in this manner, it can like almost never be scary unless you're just grossed out by gore. I mean,
there are movies where gore can be scary. I'll give you the examples of The Shining and The Exorcist, both of which rely heavily on disgusting gore. But I think in both cases it's done in more of a surreal way than a horror way.
But it's not to the same extent. It's not as messy as The Evil Dead.
The Exorcist is pretty messy.
Is that gore? Would you say like the vomit and all that is gore?
She does masturbate violently with a crucifix.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, but it's not the same. Do you know what I mean? Though it's like not the same hysterical, like over the top.
No, that's what I mean. It's more symbology. It's more surrealism than it is.
Well,
horror.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas this is just it's like Brain Dead, the Peter Jackson movie, where it's like it's just throwing like pints and pints of fake blood.
There must be people off camera with, like you say, hoses full of blood.
Like. I mean, I guess like you say, it's almost a comedy rather than a horror movie, or it's like a hybrid horror comedy movie. But I don't find it scary in the way that, you know.
But I don't think you're meant to. I think if you were to talk to Sam Raimi, because Sam Raimi hasn't made any horror films other than this.
He has.
No, mate, none. Go on.
Drag Me to Hell.
Is that horror?
But again, it has the same humorous tone to it. So it is like in that there's a scene where she like hits a sort of this horrible gypsy woman, and I think her eyeball pops out and lands in her mouth.
Yeah.
Like so
it's hysterical. It's over the top.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like it's the whole film has that hysterical over the top tone, but like it sort of stops it from being scary to me because of that. And I just wondered whether you thought that's, you know, like a common thing in that films that have this level of sort of silly, over the top, hysterical gore can ever be also scary.
You know, gore in movies is a difficult thing to pull off because either you do it in a way which, like I said before, is surreal, like in Exorcist, like in The Shining, like the rivers of blood pouring out the elevator, or you've got a way of doing it in, say, like Saw or Hostel, where it's played in a very like medical detail way.
Again, I'd say
it's more nauseating and upsetting.
That's the thing. Like, it's still not that same level of like spraying and you know, bits flying everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have that same.
Yeah, but you know, that is it is over the top, and I think you can't have an over the top thing which is also scary. I don't think you can.
Sure. Yeah.
What I would say about Evil Dead though is that I think, you know, its camera work particularly and its attitude to gore is obviously hugely influential. And some of the movies that have obviously been influenced by it are an entire generation of zombie films. Obviously, you mentioned Peter Jackson's Brain Dead. There's another movie called Bad Taste, which has a similar approach to its comic levels of gore and ridiculousness. Cabin in the Woods obviously gave it its name.
Yeah.
And its entire conceit, which is, you know, if one of the most high-level comedy horrors is about a cabin in the woods, and this is the cabin in the woods basically from that movie, it tells you how important it is. But I think Edgar Wright probably owes an entire career to The Evil Dead.
Yeah. It's got that same anarchic but like very well directed qualities.
Yeah, I mean, you could describe both as pastiches, both approaches. Because like, take Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is a zombie movie done as pastiche, and The Evil Dead is a zombie movie done as pastiche. Yeah, because they've got the exact. They're pitch perfect in their choices of shots, choices of like plot points. But they do it in a way where you know exactly what's going to happen, and they subvert it slightly to make it, you know, funny. Like I said before, that shot where the zombie sits up, you don't expect it, and it's like hilariously funny. It's the same as like when Shaun in Shaun of the Dead like closes the bathroom mirror, and you think someone's going to be there, and it is, but it's his housemate telling him to stop leaving the toilet seat up or whatever.
Sure,
it's funny.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think they are both like visual storytellers, aren't they?
Exactly.
And you are right. There's no doubt that Edgar Wright is heavily influenced by Sam Raimi.
Yeah, I want to go on the record as the first person to ever say that.
Well, you keep referring to it as a zombie movie, but I think it's a really good possession movie as well. Yeah. Because it really does feel, and this is, I guess, a testament to the performers.
Right.
It really does feel like their bodies are being like used as a puppet.
Yeah.
And they're like completely not in control. And similarly, I think there's a really good scene where Ash is like running around the cabin and sort of freaking out. And one thing that I really liked, which I thought was a really clever effect as well, again, like with everything, you have to sort of take into account the budget and the context of it. Yeah. But like when he reaches out and touches a mirror and it's water.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So overall, it's a very good film.
Yeah, I think so. And it's, you know, I want horror movie making to go back to this level of like creativity. Yeah. Because you compare this, and it's not it's like me last week comparing Hamlet to Cube. But
go back to last week's episode if you missed out.
Yeah. But compare The Evil Dead, which is a horror movie, to like a more recent horror movie like The Paranormal Activity series,
Yeah.
which is just
Creatively bankrupt.
yeah, exactly. Paranormal Activity 4, static shots of things which are just completely boring. You cannot get even in like one tracking shot with a guy running around a cabin, you get more emotion in that 3 seconds of action than you do in like 4.5 hours of Paranormal Activity movies.
Yeah, it's true. It's probably true. Well, Joe, you seem to like The Evil Dead.
Absolutely.
But what do you really know about films that have the word dead in the title? Let's find out in my Name the Film with Dead in the title based on the one-line description quiz.
Mate, last week you scorned me for my like rubbish idea.
What are you talking about? It's a good idea.
All right. That's how I felt last week.
That's insulting, that.
Oh yeah, right. Go on then.
Question 1. 5 teenagers go on vacation to an isolated cabin in a remote wooded area.
Well, I know this is a trick question, isn't it?
Might be.
Well,
I'm not an antagonistic quiz writer like yourself.
you are though. Okay, I'm gonna say there's 2 options I can give here:
Right.
Evil Dead and The Evil Dead.
Well, which one are you going to pick?
Well, you can't do that because if I say one, you'll just say it's wrong.
No, I won't. There's one written down here.
The Evil Dead.
Correct. There we go. Isn't it nice when everyone works together? Question 2. Everyone having a nice time. Question 2. Overprotective mother spies on her son, gets bitten by a Sumatran rat monkey.
Brain Dead.
Correct. Question 3. Are you having a good time?
I'm having a good time.
Good.
I'm getting them right. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels nice, doesn't it? If only I could remember. Question 3. Ben and Barbara get trapped in a rural farmhouse.
Left 4 Dead.
Incorrect. It was Night of the Living Dead.
Ah, yeah.
Question 4. Steve and Francine go to the shops.
Dawn of the Dead.
Correct. Question 5. Davy Jones comes to collect a blood debt from a legendary pirate.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
Correct. Question 6. This is a film that has been suggested to us as well at some point, I think. Question 6. Sam Neill and Nicole Kidman set sail with unforeseen consequences.
Set sail? Dead Water.
Oh, you're very, very close. The Dead Calm.
Ah.
Question 7.
That's a horrible idea, isn't it? Just being becalmed in the middle of the ocean.
Question 7. 5 teenagers go to an isolated cabin in a remote wooded area to help one overcome her addiction to heroin.
Evil Dead.
Correct.
Yes.
There we go. I think you got 2 wrong. You missed out on Night of the Living Dead and Dead Calm.
I can't believe I didn't get Night of the Living Dead. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. The most famous of the Dead films.
Yes.
Yes. So 5 out of 7, Joe. Well done.
Thanks.
Well done, mate.
Thanwant to mate.
It's good.
Are you feeling a bit sore about last week's quiz?
No, not at all.
Can you remember?
What could give you that impression?
Do you want that? I can remind you of one of the great questions. So last week, you didn't know. I mean, it's not my fault you didn't know that Jim Henson had never worked with babies before working on Labyrinth. That's your own fault.
Yeah.
For not.
That is the same level of quiz as name the film with the word dead in the title based on the one-line description quiz. Pithy name. Yeah. Anyway.
You should be a game designer or something.
Yeah.
With this attitude. Simplistic design you've got. Mine's a bit convoluted. How to survive?
Yeah, absolutely. How would you survive, Joe? It's that part of the show, How to Survive, where we ask you, how would you survive if you found yourself in The Evil Dead?
So my first piece of advice, Chris, is for Cheryl.
Yeah.
Who you'll remember is the first person to be possessed and becomes the nemesis of the film.
Sure.
Now, what does she do? How does she get possessed? She wanders into the woods alone at night.
Right.
And what's the first thing you should do? Not wander into the woods alone at night.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
The first thing you should do is something that you shouldn't do.
Exactly.
Is refrain from doing something. Yeah. Okay. What's your present your working?
Right. So she hears a voice say, "Come and join us." Presumably her brain, like anyone's brain in that situation, would be thinking, Well,
No.
I'm vulnerable. Everyone else is coupled up for the night. If I stay here, I may be attacked by the person who's outside. Going outside to where I have no level of defense against them and no chance of my friends assisting me, surely is poor logic. And it does lead to her demise.
Yeah, it's quite a tropey situation she finds herself in.
I don't think we've had it on the podcast before, though. We've had like similar things on Friday the 13th, like don't wander around at night.
Yeah.
But this is very specific, don't go in there, isn't it? Or
Right, don't go out in the woods alone at night.
Yeah, because when has that ever ended well for anyone?
I mean, technically you're right. It's a slightly mealy-mouthed survival idea, isn't it? Because it's just basically don't do the thing that leads to your death.
Yes.
Like a very specific scenario. I guess it is generalizable advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if
is there anything suggesting that the demon can't just come into the cabin?
Well, she's already started to be possessed before the
exactly. She sat
start.
in it, so it might not be the case that. I mean, you might as well say don't play the tape that has the incantation on it that unleashes the demonic presence.
Not quite though, because if I had kids, I might say to them, it's dangerous to go into the woods alone at night if you hear a voice taunting you to go into the woods at night, right?
Yeah.
So don't do that. And they might say, okay, Dad, I'll bear that in mind.
And they'll go like, okay, Jenny, is your dad's that guy over there? Yeah. Is he the insane man who keeps saying about hearing voices?
Similarly, though, as a point of comparison, I should say, if I said to my kids, don't play a tape with incantations on it.
Yeah,
that would be really insane.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, it's good. It is good advice. It's a good advice on the level of like, don't talk to strangers and like, don't get in someone's car you don't know.
Foundational, you'd say.
Yeah,
foundational,
exactly. Yeah. Maybe we should enshrine it as like one of the foundational how to survive tips.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't argue with it. I mean, I can't argue with it because it's essentially like the most inoffensive survival idea you could possibly pick.
Like if you put yourself in her situation, it's the dead of night, you're alone, and you hear a voice at the window go, "Come outside, Chris. Come outside."
I go, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm obviously going to call help.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. I like I said, I can't argue with you. You're not wrong.
I don't see where you're getting so confrontational about it.
My bit of advice is for the demons.
Oh yeah.
When they've possessed people, just before Ash or whoever starts chopping them up.
Yeah.
Right. One of them at one point screams, "No, you love her."
Yeah.
At him, right.
Yeah.
Now, would it not be a lot more effective if they didn't spend the rest of the time when possessing her screaming, pulling off the girl's flesh?
Yeah.
Like basically the demons are trying to have their cake and eat it too, aren't they? Because they spend their whole time taunting the teenagers and laughing, and then after that, like when they've, like I said, been ripping their possessed teenager's face off and all that sort of thing, they then try and trick them into thinking that their friends are still alive.
Yep.
Now, the good cop routine works a charm on Ash.
Yeah.
When she says it.
And he puts the axe down and he's like, "Oh, thank God you're okay."
Right. But yeah, when he's about to kill Linda. Now, why don't they just do that all the time instead of doing the whole bad cop stuff?
Well, presumably, like most supernatural villains in movies, they get some enjoyment from scaring people.
Right.
And it is more scary to say, here's a full sense of security. Oh, wait, no, I'm actually a demon.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
It's more disappointing, isn't it?
That's the feeling going through Ash's mind at that point. He's disappointment.
He's absolutely gutted.
Oh,
that's
a shame.
I liked her. I did like her. It is a shame.
Yeah. What? So you're thinking they're sort of like buttering them up by scaring them in their sort of paranormal activity?
Yeah,
sense?
exactly. Yeah, they get a kick out of it, don't they?
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, but in that moment, they're trying to stop themselves from being killed, aren't they? Because right. And if their goal is to not have their vessel destroyed, then Like, is their goal basically to, you know, have free reign over the corporeal world?
I don't know, mate. We don't know the motives of the villains. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Because it could be that they just want to have a bit of fun. You know, it's like a joyride. I don't care if I smash the car up, but I don't want to get arrested either.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I guess so. But if, in your analogy, being arrested is presumably being chopped up with an axe,
Yes.
which
But it's not you being chopped up, though, is it?
no, but it's your
car being chopped
right.
up.
But the net result of it is that you're unable to continue your joyride.
Which isn't that big a deal because it's like a joyride. Do you know what I mean?
Right, I see. So you,
I think they're just having a bit of fun. They're not enacting any super plan. They're just like, well, you've woken us up.
Okay.
We're just going to fuck with you now.
maybe. I still think that if they're doing like one half of the good cop bad, or they're doing both halves of the good cop bad cop routine within each person,
Right.
and it ends up with all of the demons dying.
Yeah.
I guess basically just be nice. Go, yeah. No, I'm back. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Let's go home. Let's go to a big populated city. That would be.
Do you know what would make me happy? Just go to a festival, really.
You know what made me happy is putting the Naturum de Monto in a fireproof box.
Do you know what? I think we should keep this safe. We should really keep this safe.
Yes. So yeah, that was my idea.
I like it. There's no particular problem with it,
Mm-hmm.
other than we don't really know what the motives are.
Yeah, I guess not.
Mm.
I assume it's just the same as it always is, trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
Have you got any more ideas?
Yes. So what we see many of the tormented souls do is punch through doors or punch through hatches. We see both happen.
Yeah.
I think Cheryl punches through the hatch to grab hold of Ash's leg.
Mm-hmm.
And when Linda is outside, she punches through the door with both hands at the same time to grab him in a sort of bear hug.
Yeah.
So if you can punch through things, just do that. Punch the whole house into matchsticks and then do what you want.
Right. But if we're going with the joyriding demons, then maybe it's all part of it. No. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just a horror movie trope. Isn't it?
yeah.
It's impossible to criticize that because you're essentially correct. Yes.
Yeah. That's the problem with this movie is it's very tropey.
Yeah.
But in a not to its like, you know, I hate tropes. I hate tropes in movies. This is known. But this is done in a good way. It's funny. But that's basically what you could do is say, don't go in there, and well, if they're so strong, why don't they just punch him?
Yeah. Yeah. My next survival tip is for Ash.
Yeah.
And actually involves asking you a question. Let's say you had to choose between two options for how you died.
Okay.
Would you rather be decapitated in your sleep or buried alive?
Oof. Do I wake up whilst buried?
Very possibly. The assumption is that you're alive when you're buried. So
yes.
Yeah.
Well. Is this gonna happen tonight?
Depends on your answer. No. Basically,
I take your point.
Ash tries to dismember Linda, but can't bring himself to do it. Presumably because he, for whatever SJW cuck reason, thinks that dismembering your girlfriend with a chainsaw is distasteful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But he decides to bury her alive instead. Right?
Well, she's dead though. That's the thing.
But if she's dead, then there's no like.
I think desecrating the body of your lover is what's holding him back.
But he's still desecrating. The net result of it is that he's still desecrating it by burying it in a shallow grave then eventually decapitating it with a shovel.
That's because it came back to life.
Right.
As a demon.
What does it say on the tape, Joe? Does it say dismember the body of the host, or does it say dismember the body of the host, or if you don't really fancy doing that, also you could bury them. And that would also work exactly the same.
Now let's say, God forbid,
end.
Chris, God forbid that your girlfriend died.
Let's not go down this road.
No, I'm just saying, would you chop her up into pieces or would you give her a burial? That's the question that's going through his mind.
Well, if the context is that if I don't chop her up, she'll come back to life as a ghoul.
Yeah.
At which point I'll have to kill her again, but face the spectre of her as the living dead.
Yes.
Then probably I would dismember her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much as I love my girlfriend.
I'll let her know that you're.
But
your plans
it's
are.
a trope of zombie movies that people are desperate to die and be prevented from turning into a zombie.
They seem to be having
Surely
a ball.
That's what Linda would want.
No, but they're having a ball, aren't they? They're saying, "Join us. This is great."
That's not them, is it? That's not Linda going, "Yeah, I'm having a whale of a time."
Yeah, but Linda's dead then. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, in which case, chop her up.
But why kill these other people?
What are you talking about?
Well, they're just having fun, aren't they? They're not going to do you any
Well, the
harm.
demons.
Yeah, they're fine.
They are going to do you harm.
Just leave.
How do you think the people died?
Bad luck. Trees attacked them.
They died because of the demons, Joe.
If Ash had just left and gone, right, I've had it, and walked out, what would happen?
You get attacked by trees, like Scotty.
True. That's a neat bit of writing.
Yeah. And that is that.
Yes. Well, I think you're right. I don't know.
If your wife died and you had to make the decision, you knew that she was going to come back to life, and try and kill you when she had been resurrected.
Yes.
And you had the choice of preventing that by dismembering her, or taking the time to put yourself in close proximity to her while you're burying her in the garden. What would you rather do?
Well, I'd probably just take my chances and leave.
But that's not an option.
The thing is, right, the thing I was thinking when he was doing it,
Yeah.
He's burying the body. He's got to explain that to someone in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look good for him, does it?
No, doesn't. It's a difficult one to write off.
I was thinking, if to put yourself in that position again, if your lover died, if your partner died, you wouldn't bury them in the garden. That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You'd call the authorities.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's insanity.
Yeah.
He's really not thought that through, has he?
No. It's going to be a difficult one to explain.
Exactly, yeah.
How was your spring break? Well,
the thing is...
Let me tell you.
Yeah. Where is your girlfriend? Well, the thing is, she did die. I have buried her in the garden of this cabin. Oh, where's everyone else? Also dead.
Yeah.
Some I've chopped up.
My girlfriend died, and then I debated dismembering her.
Yeah.
Then I buried her. Then she came back to life, so I then dismembered her.
Yeah.
For good measure. And then, yes, my friend melted.
Honestly, officer, that's exactly what happened.
Yes. So thanks again to Corey for suggesting The Evil Dead. Next week, it's Armageddon.
What a hoot.
Yeah. If you'd like to get in touch, HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com is the email address, @HowToSurvivePod on Twitter, YouTube.com/HowToSurvivePod if you'd like to see any of our videos, which are becoming increasingly popular.
Yeah, we might have to stop this audio podcast, mate. We're all video now.
It's all about the visual medium.
Yeah, the only way to stop us quitting audio and switching over to video completely is to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice.
Yes, absolutely. And so until next week, Joe, Armageddon out of here.
That's rubbish, mate, because it's so obvious.